Lila woke each day to the sound of crows cawing from the old mango tree outside her window, their calls echoing her own frustrations. The sun would rise, painting the sky in hues of orange and gold, a canvas of possibilities that she longed to explore. Yet, the moment she stepped into the squalor of her stepmother's demands, those colors dimmed to gray. Each morning, her stepmother's sharp tongue would whip through the air like a scorpion's tail, lashing out with relentless commands. Feed the chickens, wash the clothes, fetch water from the stream. Tears often pooled in Lila's eyes, but she learned to swallow them down, knowing that sadness only seemed to fuel her stepmother's delight. The girl was a mere shadow in her own home, a servant who barely caught a flicker of kindness. But there was one small solace. The water from the stream, its crystalline purity, spoke to her soul. The rhythm of her steps towards it felt like a heartbeat, promising a momentary escape from the tedium that bound her. The journey to the stream twisted through an emerald glade, where wildflowers danced in the whisper of the wind. Lila often picked small bunches of the blossoms, tucking them into the folds of her dress as if to capture the beauty she could carry home. However, it always felt like mere decoration concealing the hunger for more. More joy, more laughter, more love. On this particular day, the sun hung high in the sky, bathing the forest in a warm embrace. Lila moved to the familiar, gentle sounds of the stream bubbling across stones, soothing her weary spirit. She knelt by the water, hands splashing in the coolness, relishing the fleeting moment of peace. For a brief time, she could forget the harshness of the world, listening to the soft gurgling of the water tailored like a lullaby just for her. As she filled her clay pot, however, something stirred in the bushes nearby. Startled, Lila turned, her heart racing. Emerging from the underbrush was a regal figure, sunlight glinting off the smooth fabric of his attire. He was unlike any man she had ever seen, with an air of grace that spoke of nobility. The prince, with his dark, lustrous hair and kind, soulful eyes, seemed a shining beacon in her drab existence. Their eyes locked, and an unspoken connection sparked between them, filling the air with a warm electricity that made Lila's heart flutter. The prince approached, curiosity dancing on his features. "What brings you to this hidden place?" he asked, his voice smooth and gentle. "My stepmother sends me here for water, my lord," Lila stammered, a mixture of awe and fear shadowing her voice. "It is hard work, but the stream, it offers me a moment of respite." The prince nodded, understanding blooming in his gaze. He moved closer, the aura of strength and kindness radiating from him, and Lila felt herself drawn to him, as though a hidden part of her longed to embrace the hope he represented. She could not yet fathom that this meeting, so unexpected and fleeting, would weave threads of fate that would forever change the fabric of her life. As Lila ventured deeper along the hidden trail, the world around her transformed into a vibrant tapestry of colors and sounds. The sun filtered through the thick canopy of leaves overhead, casting playful shadows that danced on the forest floor. Each step felt lighter, almost as if the earth itself was urging her forward, guiding her to the heart of this mysterious realm. The air was fresh and fragrant, imbued with the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. Lila inhaled deeply, allowing the aroma to fill her lungs and invigorate her spirit. She paused to admire the clusters of flowers that peppered the trail. Delicate violets with soft petals and bold dandelions, their sunny faces turned towards the sky. Every blossom seemed to beckon to her with silent promises of joy and adventure. As she moved along the winding path, Lila's thoughts drifted beyond the confines of her daily life. Home was a place tangled in shadows. Heavy expectations and unspoken tensions weighed her down. But here, in this secret sanctuary, she could shed that burden like an old coat. The freedom she felt fluttered around her like butterflies, flitting from one bright moment to the next. She was, in this enchanted glade, the girl she wished to be, uncaged, alive, and full of dreams unshackled by doubt. Reaching the edge of the glade, Lila stood transfixed by the sight before her. The stream glimmered with an ethereal glow, its waters flowing with an effortless grace. Sunbeams reflected off the surface like scattered diamonds, each tiny spark drawing her closer. Kneeling at the bank, she let her fingertips dance along the surface, the cold water providing a sharp, delightful contrast to the warmth of the sun on her back. As she played with the water, it swirled around her fingers, carrying away her worries with every ripple. Drawn to the rhythm of the stream, Lila began to whisper her dreams, aloud, words she had never dared to share before. She spoke of adventures far beyond the whispers of her neighborhood, of exploring lands unseen, and of creating stories as vivid as the flowers that surrounded her. With each spoken hope, she felt a weight lift from her chest, replaced by a lightness that made her heart soar. The rustling leaves seemed to respond, encouraging her voice to rise higher, to envision a world unbound by the limitations that often encircled her at home. She found solace in the dance of the flowers, their vibrant colors echoing the bursting emotions within her. Each breeze felt like a gentle embrace, a reminder that her spirit was alive and worthy of chasing dreams as vivid as the beauty enveloping her. As the day wore on, Lila realized she had unearthed something far more precious than the secret glade itself. She had discovered a piece of herself, a resilient, hopeful core that linked her to the beauty of the world around her. And in that revelation, she vowed to return, to nurture the dreams that sprang to life beneath the whispering branches, so they could eventually take flight. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden hues upon the water's surface, Lila found herself captivated by the rhythm of the stream. It was a sanctuary away from the drudgery of her chores, and as she danced, her laughter mingled with the gentle sounds of nature. Each leap and twirl was a testament to her spirit, a fleeting escape from the expectations that shackled her. Yet, unbeknownst to Lila, the secret stream was not as solitary as she believed. In the shadow of an ancient oak, Prince Zara watched her with a mixture of awe and intrigue. He had long sought refuge away from the gilded cage of the palace, where the weight of duty bore down heavily upon him. In that moment, he was not a prince burdened by responsibility, but simply a young man enchanted by a girl full of light. When Lila noticed the shimmering figure standing amidst the trees, her heart skipped a beat. The world seemed to hold its breath as their eyes locked. It was as if the air crackled with a potent energy, a silent agreement that this encounter was destined. Lila felt an unfamiliar warmth spread through her. The mere presence of this stranger made her feel extraordinary. Who are you?" she managed to stammer, her cheeks flushing with a mix of surprise and delight. "I'm just a traveler seeking peace," Zara replied, his voice low and soothing like the stream's murmurs. "And it seems I've stumbled upon a true dancer." She felt a rush of exhilaration at his words, as if he could see the part of her that yearned to be more than just a voice in the background. For so long, she had carried the weight of being a servant, of being invisible. But here was someone who regarded her not for her station, but for the beauty of her spirit. "Do you come here often?" she ventured, feeling emboldened by the curiosity twinkling in his eyes. "Only when the walls of the palace become too oppressive," he confessed, stepping closer to the water's edge. The sun cast a warm glow on his features, and for a brief moment, Lila forgot where she came from and who she was supposed to be. As they spoke, the world around them faded. Time lost its meaning, and the burdens of their lives seemed distant. Lila shared bits of her dreams, her passions that often went unacknowledged in her daily life, while Zara revealed snippets of his own struggles. The demands of being the future king, the suffocating expectations draped upon him like a heavy cloak. In this timeless exchange, they forged a bond that transcended their disparate worlds. Lila was no longer just a servant. She was a vibrant soul, and in Zara's eyes, she saw the reflection of the person she always aspired to be. Their laughter danced in harmony with the babbling stream, a sweet melody that sang of newfound hope and possibilities. As the day slipped into twilight, the shadows lengthened around them. Yet, the warmth blossomed between them, lighting the path forward. In that secret, magical place, Lila and Zara discovered not just the thrill of an unforeseen encounter, but the promise of something deeper, a connection that would shape the course of their lives in ways neither of them could yet imagine. As the days warmed into summer, the secret stream became a vibrant tapestry of life, each visit marking a new chapter in Lila and Prince Zara's blossoming friendship. The gentle sound of water, flowing over smooth stones, formed a melody that seemed to whisper secrets meant only for them. Lila looked forward to each meeting with barely contained excitement, her heart fluttering like the butterflies that danced above the blooming wildflowers that graced the bank. In this hidden paradise, the boundaries between their worlds faded, and time felt suspended, allowing them to embrace fleeting moments of joy. On one particularly sun-drenched afternoon, Lila arrived to find Zara already at their spot, his profile half lit by the dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves. He was lost in thought, a melancholy shadow sliding across his face. Catching sight of her, his demeanor shifted like the turning of a page, a frivolous smile breaking the clouds of worry. Yet the brief glimpse of sadness lingered in his eyes, a reminder of the weight he bore. "Lila," he greeted, his voice a soft balm that soothed the apprehensions she carried. "I was beginning to think the stream had stolen you away." His banter was playful, yet there was an underlying yearning for connection that resonated deeply with her. "Not quite," she replied, laughing lightly, while settling beside him on the worn grass. "I thought perhaps you'd found a way to charm the fish into sharing their secrets." Zara chuckled, but the sound was tinged with a hint of worry. "If only it were that easy. I fear some secrets are too heavy to share with anyone, even fish." Lila sensed the shift in his mood and reached out, placing her hand over his. The warmth of her touch seemed to ignite a flicker of hope amid his tangled emotions. "Tell me," she urged gently, encouraging him to let down the armor he often wore. The stream gurgled softly in response, a witness to their growing intimacy. "What troubles your spirit today?" Zara hesitated, his gaze drifting toward the water, watching the dancing reflections distort the serene surface. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm meant for more than this life, just as you've dreamt. Of adventure. But with every step I take toward that freedom, I can feel the chains of duty tightening around my heart," he confessed, his voice a fragile whisper amidst the chaos of his thoughts. Lila's heart ached for him, understanding all too well the battle between duty and desire. "But you are more than a title, Zara. You have the power to shape your destiny, to carve out a path that remains true to who you are," she encouraged, her emerald eyes glistening with sincerity. "Can I?" he asked, vulnerability lacing his tone. The question hung between them, both an invitation and a challenge. What if I choose wrong? What if the weight of my choices crushes those I care about? In that shared stillness, they recognized the fears that haunted their dreams. Yet, wrapped in each other's presence, they discovered a certain resilience, a spark that ignited possibilities they had never considered. While uncertainties loomed like dark clouds overhead, the friendship they nurtured offered a flicker of light, illuminating a potential future where love could withstand the storms of duty and expectation. With the stream as their witness, they dared to imagine a world written on their terms, where adventure awaited and their hearts could dance freely. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows that danced on the walls of their modest home. Lila felt an anxious flutter in her chest. The warmth she had found at the stream was a distant memory, quickly overshadowed by unease. Her stepmother's suspicious gaze haunted her every step as she entered the house. It was as if the air itself crackled with her simmering anger, a sentiment that was impossible to ignore. Lila's spirits, once lifted by thoughts of Tomas, were now shackled by the oppressive weight of guilt. Dinner was served in silence, the only sound being the scrape of forks against plates, a symphony of tense disapproval. Lila could feel her stepmother's piercing glances, like knives cutting through her resolve. Each time she raised her head, she was met with an expression twisted with judgment, prompting her to focus on the table instead. Her heart sank. Her stepmother had always been skilled at turning joy into sorrow, and today felt like the prelude to another of her orchestrated dramas. After dinner, Lila found herself drawn into the living room, where her stepmother had positioned herself like a queen surveying her kingdom. The flickering candlelight revealed the tightly knit lines of her features, highlighting the dark intentions lurking behind her serene facade. Lila could sense the tension thickening the air, a tangible force poised to strike. Just as she began to contemplate a diversion, her stepmother's voice oozed with saccharine sweetness, masking the poison within. "Lila, dear," she crooned, feigning concern. "I've been worried about your recent absences. It just doesn't seem appropriate for a young lady, especially one belonging to this family." The insinuation hung in the air, wrapping around Lila like a chain. "I understand the allure outside, but we all have responsibilities. After all, a respectable family must not appear foolish in the eyes of the world." Lila's heart clenched. She could hear the veiled threat laced within those words, an unspoken warning that her happiness came with consequences. "I'm just exploring, Mother. There's nothing wrong with enjoying nature," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper, desperation clawing at her throat. "But you must understand the importance of reputation, dear," her stepmother pressed, leaning forward, her expression morphing into something more sinister. "It would break my heart if anything were to be rumored about you. We wouldn't want the townsfolk discussing a wild child traipsing about in the woods, now would we?" Lila's stomach turned, caught between the love she felt for her secret and the fear her stepmother wielded like a weapon. Torn between the world of the stream with Tomas, where laughter and dreams fused, and the suffocating grip of her family duty, Lila felt the cruel weight of her stepmother's schemes settle heavily on her soul. That night, as sleep eluded her, she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, grappling with the double-edged sword of obedience and love. The choices before her felt insurmountable, a battle for her spirit igniting within. In that darkness, she realized that her heart was as much a prisoner of her stepmother's control as it was a vessel for her dreams. The thought alone filled her with defiance, awakening a spark of rebellion she never knew resided within her. As the golden light of the setting sun bathed the palace in a warm hue, Prince Zara leaned against the stone balcony, his heart racing at the thought of Lila. Her laughter, like a melody that echoed in his mind, filled the silent chambers with a warmth he had never known. It was a stark contrast to the cold formality of the court life he had always been a part of. Each day he spent with her chipped away at the heavy armor of duty he wore, revealing a heart that longed for connection beyond the gilded walls of nobility. Yet, he could feel the frigid winds of obligation creeping in, as reminders of his royal heritage haunted him with increasing ferocity. His parents had been relentless in their pursuit of the ideal match, a lady of high birth who could perform the duties required of a future queen. Zara often marveled at the irony. The very standards, meant to elevate him in the eyes of society, were the chains that threatened to bind his heart. Each time his mother glided past him in the halls, discussing eligible maidens in hushed, conspiratorial tones. He felt an internal war brewing. How could he betray his emerging feelings for Lila, whose spirit soared above the mundane expectations that surrounded him? His thoughts drifted back to their last encounter in the secluded gardens. Lila had called forth the stars as they lay amongst the blossoms, their laughter mingling with the whispers of the wind. She spoke of dreams, of horizons that shimmered beyond the palace walls, her eyes alight with untamed aspirations. In those moments, the world beyond felt alive and filled with possibilities, yet the looming shadow of duty always returned to snuff out the spark. A knot twisted in his stomach as he imagined Lila's reaction if she learned of the pressures he faced. The burden that weighed on him was almost unbearable. As he paced the balcony, an insistent voice of tradition loomed large in his mind. Was it right to introduce Lila to the court if he couldn't guarantee their love would be accepted? He envisioned the harsh scrutiny from the noble families, the whispers that would undoubtedly ripple through the halls. They would gauge her worthiness as if measuring the gold on a scale. With a deep breath, he clenched his fists, setting his jaw against the impending storm. He wanted nothing more than to confront his family, to declare that his heart belonged to Lila, a simple girl with a soul of fire who had awakened something within him that royal obligations could never extinguish. Yet there was a voice, one riddled with doubt, that urged caution. Zara found himself at a crossroads, where his burgeoning affection for Lila clashed violently with the expectations of tradition. He could almost hear the echoes of his father's disapproval, the fear of tarnishing their family's legacy clawing at him. In the silence of that twilight hour, he felt lost, trying to reconcile the tender feelings of his heart with the unyielding demands of his bloodline. And the sheer weight of that decision pressed down on him like a leaden cloak. He had to find a way to bridge both worlds, to show Lila that she could be his partner in this dance of fate, even as the court danced to a different tune. The moon hung low in the sky, casting silvery reflections on the surface of the stream as Lila and Zara sat side by side, their hearts racing with the weight of what lay ahead. The water whispered secrets as it danced over the smooth stones, a rhythm in sync with the duo's anxious breaths. The tranquil sound was an ironic backdrop to their turmoil, but it was exactly this place, their sacred sanctuary, that made them feel emboldened. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Zara inquired, concern etching lines across his brow. His hand found Lila's, the warmth grounding her amidst the chill of uncertainty. She looked into his eyes, those pools of unwavering resolve, and felt a flickering spark of hope ignite the very depths of her being. "I have to. If I don't stand up to her now, it will only get worse," Lila replied, her voice steady yet laced with fear. It was not merely her desires that she fought for. She was also defending the love that had grown between them, soft yet resilient against the world's harshness. Thoughts of her stepmother's oppressive rules choked her, but the thought of losing Zara was far more suffocating. "But you know she won't back down easily. She has influence over the kingdom, and she'll stop at nothing to keep us apart," Zara stated, his voice tinged with helplessness. Lila could sense the storm of emotions brewing within him, but she reached out, cupping his cheek with her free hand, needing him to understand. "That's why we have to be smart. We have the power of truth on our side. Once our love is made public, once we stand united, we can fight the prejudices that trap us," Lila urged, her heart racing. The plan began to take shape in her mind, a vivid tapestry woven from threads of defiance and hope. They would gather their supporters, those who believed in love and freedom, and slowly build their case. Zara squeezed her hand tighter, his voice resolute. "All right then. We'll gather people who care about our cause. We need to be strategic, but we must also prepare for the worst. It could get messy." Lila nodded, her spirit fortified by his words. They began to sketch a tentative outline of their rebellion, spanning from approaching the townsfolk who expressed similar sentiments to creating a safe space where others could share their stories. In the wake of her mother's power, they would foster a community that wouldn't let fear dictate their choices. As they spoke, the night grew darker, but the glow of their determination illuminated the shadows lurking in their path. Every moment they spent discussing their plan deepened their bond, and the unbreakable thread that would allow them to endure the challenges ahead. Lila reveled in the weight of her decision, the commitment glinting in her mind brighter than the stars above. In that moment, beneath the moonlight and the whispering stream, they knew that this journey would define them. It was not merely a test of resolve, it was a testament to the strength that love could muster in the face of adversity, a fire that would burn brightly even in the coldest of nights. And as dawn threatened to break, they prepared to step into the world unafraid, ready to confront the storm that would surely come. Lila and Zara stood side by side, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and determination as they faced the imposing figure of the stepmother. The air crackled with tension, thick with the unsaid emotions that had fueled their journey to this moment. The dim light of the room cast sharp shadows, reflecting the battle within them as they were about to confront the very embodiment of their struggles. Lila could see the flicker of surprise in her stepmother's eyes, a brief moment where arrogance faltered. But that flicker quickly transformed into disdain, and the stepmother's mouth twisted into a sneer, as if she could crush their resolve with mere words. "What do you think you're doing here, you little wretches? You dare challenge me in my own home?" She spat, eyebrows drawn tight. Her voice dripped with venom, yet it was a hollow kind of fury. Lila felt the words slashing at her, but she held her ground, feeling Zara's reassuring presence next to her, a silent promise that they would not back down. "You don't own us," Lila spoke, her voice steady and clear. The words felt foreign on her tongue, bold and powerful. "You may have physical control over this house, but you do not own my heart nor my choices. I choose love, and love is worth fighting for." Her heart raced as she realized she was no longer the timid girl reluctant to speak against the forces that sought to imprison her. Here, in this charged atmosphere, she had found her voice and wielded it like a sword. Zara, encouraged by Lila's bravery, stepped forward. "We both have dreams, hopes for a future that you will never understand. You may think you can dictate who we should be, but our love and our lives are not yours to control." He could feel the fire within him igniting, fueled not just by his affection for Lila, but by the deep-rooted desire to reclaim their rights against the oppressive weight of tradition and fear. The stepmother seemed taken aback, her bravado slipping as her eyes darted between them, looking for cracks in their newfound armor. "You think this is romantic? You think love can survive without the chains of obligation? I've seen your kind of love lead to ruin," the stepmother hissed, her facade of authority crumbling as desperation underlined her words. But Lila could see through it. Behind the jealousy lay an echo of unacknowledged pain, a vulnerability she had never considered before. "Perhaps your twisted sense of love has always been about control rather than connection," Lila replied, feeling empowered with every word. "Love has never been about fear. It's about choice, respect, and freedom." The room seemed to hold its breath as Zara sensed the shift. The stepmother's once tightly coiled authority was loosening under the pressure of their unifying conviction. They were not just fighting for themselves, but symbolizing a greater rebellion against the norms that had held them captive. Their bond was a beacon, illuminating the truth that love could transcend any obstacle, transformative enough to withstand even the darkest of hearts. In that moment, they realized that they wielded a power far greater than any authority could restrain, a power born of love that promised liberation